So I'm going to show you how to do the quickest, easiest pumpkin. You can do this with any fabrics you want. If you're going to use a quilt, I would use very thin quilt or a quilt top. And in this process, I'm going to use a tablecloth, and this was messed up and I don't want it to go to waste. So this is 7 inches and it's just a long strip. And then this is 11 inches this way, and then just a long strip. And then I cut fabrics, same. One was 11 inches and then the other was 7. So this is this way, and it's just folded, and this one is folded this way. So I'm going to show you how I do this. If you are in a hurry and you just need to make some decor or some something to go in a booth or something like that, this is going to be so quick and easy. So I'm going to lay this out, and this is the 11-inch one, and I'm going to take my fabric here and I'm going to just lay it over this. And notice, because this is a tablecloth, it had to have a backer. If you had something like a quilt and you were going to use that, I would definitely use a thin, lightweight quilt, just because we're going to gather this. But this can be done with any kind of fabric, in any, you know, old linens, wool blankets, any kind of thing. So what I'm going to do is cut it out, and what I'm going to do is cut it and make a tube. And so I want to make sure that I am figuring out how fat I want my pumpkin. And I'm wondering, oh, look at all that mess from another project. Well, that'll be next week. Anyway, if you saw my craft space, my studio, you'd be like, oh my gosh, how can you work in there? But I manage. But I'm a almost 63-year-old woman, and I work a full-time job, and I love to craft, so sometimes it just gets the way it gets. And so I think that's going to be good. Like I said, if I made it skinnier, it's going to be a taller one, or a fatter one. And this one, I'm just going to wing it, and I'm going to use my trusty scissors, and I'm just going to cut here. I am not measuring. I'm not worrying about how long, because if it turned out a skinny one, I wouldn't be upset. If it turned out a fat one, I wouldn't be upset. So there's that one. And then this is the 7-inch one. And I'm just going to undo this and see where I want it. And notice it's totally not perfect, and it won't matter one bit. So here is this one. I'm going to lay this on top, and gonna fold it over where I think it's gonna look good. You could make these tiny and they would be still really cute. Okay, and I'm thinking somewhere around there. Now notice I'm cutting a little bit here because this had a scalloped edge, and when I sew it here, I want to make sure that I'm not going to be having parts of just the plain white showing. So I'm going to pull my sewing machine forward, and hopefully it's plugged in, and it is. And make sure you can see what I'm doing. Yep. All right. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to have all these together with the lace piece on the inside, and I am going to just sew a straight line. And I am going to straighten this up just a little bit more. And straighten that just a little bit more. Not that it's going to matter one bit. I'm going to sew this here. And I am going to back stitch here and make sure that it's secure on both sides. Making sure all those pieces are together. All right, and there is that. Now what I am going to do is I am going to just kind of gather all this together, and I am going to tie some stuff around it. I'm going to just tie it off, and I'm going to pause and get my string. Okay, I've got some string. It doesn't matter what kind of string. You could use embroidery floss. I just had this sitting here, so I'm going to grab a piece of it. I also have my glue gun on. And remember, this is the little one, and I'm just going to take this. Ooh, hold my thumb there and just kind of wrap it around and pull it really as tight as I can. And I'm going to tie that off. Now this guy, even though it was 7 inches long, it's going to come out nice little squatty pumpkin. And if you needed to, you could probably hand stitch that because it's not too much. And there is that. And now I'm going to flip it right side out. And that is the bottom of the pumpkin. And what I'm going to do is stick some stuffing in here. But before I do, I'm going to secure this and secure in here so that none of this comes out. So I'm taking the glue gun and I'm just going to stick some glue in here. I just don't want to accidentally come apart. I'm just going to kind of pinch it together. I'm also going to secure where that knot is, just because I don't want it to come apart. And let that dry just a little bit. I didn't cut off the strings, didn't do anything, and now I'm just going to stitch around the edge, really not like fancy, just big whip stitches. So I said whip stitches, but I didn't really mean that. I meant I'm just going to go back and forth, and I'm just making sure that I am somewhere in here, making sure I'm catching this lace and the backing. I'm going to go all the way around here, and like I said, it's not a big deal. I'm just kind of going in and out, just like so. When I am done, I will pull this tight. I did do 2 strands. I want to make sure that I've got some kind of heavy-ish to regular thread. I wouldn't just use 1 strand, but this is just a double strand of regular old thread. And you see I'm not being very precise. And basically, if I'd had all my things right here handy, this would have taken me a few minutes to do. Now, okay, here is my one end, and I do want to have that so that I can tie it off. And I did do the string long so that they're both hanging here. I don't want to lose either one of them. Now I'm going to stick my stuffing in here, just like so. A little bit more. I kind of want this to be full, and we'll see what it looks like. Now I'm going to find my 2 threads. I should have, just for this video, used a darker thread, but you see I'm just pulling them. And I'm going to pull this as tight as I can. And remember, this is the small one. And I'm just pushing this in. I don't want to pull so tight that I'm going to break my thread. But there we are. I pulled it as tight as I could, and making sure that I'm getting that. Okay, tied it off, cutting this, and notice there's like still a little hole. Look how cute it is. I mean, super cute. Easy, easy peasy. Now I'm going to get a just a rolled piece of fabric to stick in here, and we will call this one done. Okay, so for the stem, I'm using a piece of white wool felt, and I use the term wool felt a lot of times in any video I'm doing, and it's just vintage felt, which is actually not made out of polyester. But you notice I'm just taking this long strip and I'm just gonna roll it so that it's a nice little stem, and I've got it kind of long, but I want to be able to make sure that it's going to stay secure in there, and that's going to look good. And I'm going to take my glue gun and I'm going to just stick some glue there and secure that. Ow, don't burn yourself. And I'm going to stick that down in there, but before I do, I'm going to put some glue in there. I'm going to make sure that those strings are in there. And I am going to put a lot of glue. And I'm going to take this and I am going to shove it in, and I'm going to turn it as I go. And making sure all of that is getting caught in there. Look how cute. Now if I wanted to, I could totally do a leaf. And if I want to do a leaf for a pumpkin, I'm going to make a heart. And just took a square. And I'm going to cut a heart. And to me, pumpkin leaves are basically hearts, but they are curvy. And so I'm just curving that, and then it's a leaf. And I'm going to kind of scrunch that up. Move the little, if you find you got any little imperfections, you can totally, I'm here, hang on. Hubby's home. Okay, so I put the little leaf on there, and I love it. It's totally wonderful. I'm going to make the next one, and basically it's the quickest, easiest little pumpkin ever, and it's adorable. So here is the big one. I'm going to be doing the same process, making sure, and I want you just to notice how messy this is. This is totally imperfect. There's a little hole here. It's not even cut perfect. This is just the simplest, easy. And like I said, you could make tiny ones. I mean, this is a nice size, but you could make little tiny ones that would hang on a tree or something. So I'm going to finish this one up. I'm going to sew it just like the other while you watch, and you can time it and see how long it takes me, because it does not take very long. Making sure I back stitched, and then again just gonna gather this up a little bit. See how I'm not getting all fancy. I didn't sew around the bottom. I'm just gonna do that, kind of bring them all up together so that they are at least together. Take my string, and I do like to wind it around twice just to secure it really good. And tie that really tight. Glue that into place here. Just, I don't want it to slip out. And then I put a little glue inside here just to make sure it's secure, and let that dry without burning myself. Flip it right side out and see how it's all gathered. And it doesn't even matter how it's gathered. These go together so quick. And then I'm just going to put the stuffing in this time, and not being caught on a extra piece of thread. And I'm getting some more stuffing. I bet these would be even really cute with like doilies that had some design on them. Anyway, there's that. Get my thread, and this is basically real time, how long it's going to take me. I'm going to be curious to see at the end of this video how long it really took me. Like I said, if I'd had all my supplies right here handy, I had to pause and go look for my stuffing. Anyway, so just going in and out of this. You can do this before or after the stuffing. I did tie a knot in the other end just so that it's not going to pull through. You could probably have 10 or 12 of these done really super quick if you had all the supplies right then. I could have done this on the sewing machine, but I just felt like this was going to be so easy. I'm not measuring how far down I am. I'm just going back and forth, and there's that little hole, but it'll be up where the stem is and won't bother me at all. Just making sure that, and there's my excess thread. Although I did knot it, I didn't pull it too hard. I'm going to just pull this in, and then I do want to see that I've got enough stuffing in here. I don't want it to be too loose. I think a little more stuffing in this one. Alrighty, and like I said, I should have used a darker thread so you could have seen what I'm doing. Now I am going to tie this one time, and when I pull, I'm not pulling so hard that it's going to break my thread. So it is tied there. One time I'm going to stick my finger in. I do keep the needle in, and that way I can use it to go through as I'm keeping that nice and snug. And like that. And there we are. Yes, I'm wasting some thread, but this is about a quick pumpkin. And I'm going to get that all settled in there. Again, going to grab my wool felt. I love this stuff. It seems like no matter where I move to, I find unusual things that are very common in one area. And I have picked up a lot of wool felt in Utah, where I've lived, and Wichita, where I live now. And I'm gonna cut that off there. I think that'll be good. And this one's got a crazy little scallopy edge, and I won't even care because I will put that in there in the inside. And I'm just rolling that nice and snug. Don't want it to be too big, but okay, I think I'm going to cut that off because I think that's good enough. I'm gonna secure this if I have enough glue left in this machine. Not really. I better get some more glue. All right, just securing that a little bit more. Don't burn yourself, Karen. And then I am going to push that in, gluing that into place. I used a lot more glue on this one, and then I'm going to take that and twist as I push down, and it seems to grab those edges right there, which is nice, and secure it. And again, I'm going to make my little heart, and I could put 2 of these. I could put some real leaves that I bought at one of those stores, but I think this is going to work for me. And I kind of do like that, and put a little glue and secure that there. And voila, a cool pumpkin. I've seen where people will put the strings around, but I think that this isn't necessary. I think these are going to be really cute, and I love the white. I hope you've liked this video, and want to make some because they're super fun and super quick and easy. So here are a couple more pumpkins that I made. Hopefully you'll like the idea. They were 5 inches tall, really simple. I think these would be great on your holiday table. For Thanksgiving, you could hang a string on them and put them on a tree. You could add this small one face on it, and I think that they would add a lot to any booth, any space, any holiday table. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this bonus.